Ladies and gentlemen, a loyalist of John Brennan is at the center of all of this. How do I know? Because the Washington Post is in public relations overdrive. This is all a public relations, another catastrophe for Democrats, but they don't have Trump-Russia, so what are they going to do? Trump did not work with Russia to buy Facebook ads to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Trump did not work with Russia to hack the DNC to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, therefore giving Clinton the popular vote, while at the same time giving Trump swing states because of Facebook ads. If that makes sense, you have definitely been a disciple of the Democratic Party and CNN. Nothing they say ever turns out to be accurate. Nothing. When I was saying that Clinton would lose again, and by the way, she's going to be the 2020 nominee, she's going to run again. The Democratic Party is a political machine run by two people, but I say that every single day. I've done a million videos. I've written 2 articles on that, one in 2017 in the Huffington Post. But anyway, this is politics this is Madam Cyberhack's version of politics. Part of her undoing was information about Bernie Sanders being cheated by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So to inoculate themselves, to circumvent responsibility, they blamed Russia. Similarly, they're utilizing a John Brennan devotee, loyalist, you could say operative, it's the notion that this person could be a whistle blower is absolutely absurd. Notice the way they treat people like Assange or Manning or Snowden or John Kiriakou or Jeffrey Sterling. Notice how they treat Daniel Ellsberg. Notice how they treat people that speak truth to power. They try to crush and destroy and hurt and harm and obliterate and steamroll people. This is not, like, Democrats are hilarious. Like, oh, this person has painstakingly tried to let everybody know that President Trump was trying to influence the next election by urging an investigation of Biden, who just happened to, on camera, brag about withholding $1 billion until a prosecutor was fired. Talk about interference. When was the last time another country said, we will not do this for you, the United States of America, unless you get a prosecutor fired? Could you imagine? We obsess over, you don't, but Democrats and media obsess over Facebook ads that nobody saw. Next time, and if you have the misfortune of debating anyone, by the way, I'm coming out with a website that will help you. Anyone who has a TDS, it'll help you defeat them. But if you have the misfortune of ever debating somebody regarding Russian interference, the Russians did not interfere. They did not interfere in the election. How many people do you know that saw Facebook ads that said, you know what, I'm voting for Trump? I was going to vote for Clinton, but those Facebook ads were so compelling. How about 0? Nobody ever looked at Facebook ads. Nobody. The Facebook ads themselves are completely absurd. And then how many people didn't vote for Clinton because of the DNC emails? The people who weren't going to vote for Clinton, the DNC emails just solidified their original decision, which was not, I was never going to vote for Clinton, ever. And I knew that that Bernie Sanders was being cheated. Now, $200 million siphoned from Bernie. Okay, he didn't have a spine. He didn't have the courage to defend his voters. Now they have this issue with the Ukraine, which is hilarious because the transcripts are actually out. Trump didn't do anything wrong. And now we're finding out that a loyalist of John Brennan, and that's what, a guy works for Central Intelligence, but there's not much intelligence there. And it's still let's put it this way. They don't have Brennan, they don't have Clapper, they don't have Comey, they don't have Strzok, they don't have McCabe, but what they do have are people loyal to them. What they do have are people still loyal to all of these corrupt intelligence chiefs. And instead of simply, getting Brennan to pass around a dossier, this is interesting. This was Rand Paul about, a couple months ago. I'll read this to you. March 28th. Quote, finally, they decided, what we have to do is attach this dossier, this fake dossier, to an intelligence report. So now President Obama is officially seeing it, and then also it's given to Trump at this point. But realize that this is a big circle and that had the dossier for months and months. So when John McCain is given the dossier, it's given to him by people who may have leaked it from our government to John McCain. So John McCain and give it back to the FBI. I mean, it's a crazy cycle, all trying to justify something that wasn't true. They knew they had nothing. They just needed a document. They're like infatuated with parchment, and they should open up a stationery store. There's a Manafort ledger. There's a Comey memos. There's the Comey letter. There's the Steele dossier. There's all of these. If they just put it on a napkin, they're like, oh my God, this is national security. The dossier was purchased by Clinton. Why am I bringing up the dossier? Because John Brennan was a huge part of all of this. And then he says, I don't do evidence, I do intelligence. He actually stated that while he was giving testimony. The reason he stated that was because there is no such, intelligence can be innuendo, hearsay, gossip, conjecture. It doesn't have to be accurate. The way they look at it, then they say, it's raw intelligence. It's the antithesis of intelligence, but what they do is, this is not somebody who has the country's interest. President Trump knows it's a biased anti-President Trump type person. A loyalist of Brennan, almost certainly worked with Brennan. Either an official, a top official, or a mid-level official, whatever. You're not talking about somebody that doesn't... When the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN and MSNBC are viewing you as a hero, you're not doing anything that they don't give a stamp of approval of. If it's the DNC emails, Assange, God bless him, should be free. He should be free. He's a hero. He's a publisher. These people like Manning and Snowden and Jeffrey Sterling and John Kiriakou and these are people that you're talking about. These are people who they risk their lives. These are people who have divulged information that the government doesn't want known. Government does not want this information known. The DNC is not is not part of national security, but because they were allegedly hacked, if it's true the Russians hacked the campaign emails, then they would have known from the Cheryl Mills email stating that President Obama knew that she didn't have a state.gov. That's an email I wrote about in the Daily Caller. That article, I believe, is below in the pinned comment, or I'll put that in the pinned comment, but you could look it up online. They would have known that Clinton had a private servers with top secret and special access program intelligence. If you take their propaganda and marketing and public relations spin to just its obvious conclusion, logical conclusion, you know that it doesn't look good for them. None of this looks good for them. None of this looks good for them. Because at the end of the day, they are blaming Trump, Russia, now Trump with the Ukraine. They're blaming others for informing Americans of their misconduct. And the way they do it is they say, well, you are interfering in in the election by informing the country of how corrupt we are. Well, sorry. At least Trump doesn't have to he doesn't have to buy a Steele dossier. He can just be like, look, you know what? Here's Biden on tape. And if you think, look, Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee, she's going to run for president, the fact that it's in a controversial statement just proves how hilarious and absurd and just amusing all of this is. I get such a kick out of saying it because it's basically like, Jason from Friday the 13th is going to be at your door in a couple of minutes. That's basically the same type of feeling that people get when I say Clinton is going to run for president. Okay, and they say, no, she's not. She's not running. She is not running. It's like, yes, she is running, and she does not care what you think. There's so many people who's like, she is not running. No, it's not happening. And then my thing is, not only will it happen, it's going to be a repeat of 2016, and Clinton is going to lose, and she's going to run, she's going to be the nominee, she's going to lose again, she's going to run in 2024. Nobody likes her. Who cares? She doesn't care. You think the Golden Moomoo's like, do they like me? You think she's like like a Broadway star, searching for, I just hope the crowd loves me. I tried so hard, I give my heart and soul on stage. She doesn't care. She loses again in 2020, she'll run in 2024. Hello? She doesn't care. She raised $1.2 billion. And that's without Trump and tweets and all his hysteria online. She'll raise $2 billion easy. Problem is, he'll raise $2 billion. She's got to raise like $2.5 billion. Clinton outspent Trump $143+ million to 6.8 million in Florida. She still lost Florida. But here, this is the Washington Post. I'll just use the word Brennan Loyalist because that's what painstakingly gathered material and almost single-handedly set impeachment in motion. The whistleblower's identity remains obscured. The details of his work for Central Intelligence cloaked in secrecy. But the document he delivered reveals almost as much about the investigative mission he carried out in stealth. In stealth? Stealth? They never talked about this with, Chelsea Manning or, Edward Snowden or, it's never that, heroic. It's like, this is a cyber criminal. We must stop. As it does not, that's about alleged violations of power by the president. From what? He asked the Ukrainian president to just go along with a Justice Department probe investigation into Biden literally stated he got someone fired. Okay, guess what? That someone was looking into the corporation where his son received $3 million funneled through different sources. Then the left is like, no, there's no evidence of wrongdoing. It's called a conflict of interest. If it's a dossier with Trump that says he enjoys bodily fluids raining down upon him, they're like, it could be true. That's like, they're like, it could be true. We some of the things are true. I mean, look, people were breathing oxygen. That's what also, the Steele dossier says that people breathed oxygen. Yeah. And Russia exists, right? So the dossier is true then. I mean, they go to those lengths. But when it's like an obvious conflict, you have no clue if Andrew McCabe's spouse getting $700,000 from Clinton allies had anything to do with his lack of interest in the Clinton email investigation. And the fact that he utilized a dossier against Trump to sign FISA warrants, and that's going to come out soon. And set up Michael Flynn and frame him. Michael Flynn should be pardoned tomorrow. They never say, well, you don't know if it's true or not. If it's Trump, anything's possible. If it's Biden or the Golden Moo or any Democrat, it's like, you better have ironclad proof of any innuendo. What about the conflict of interest? It makes no sense. It wouldn't if this was a trial and there's a law enforcement officer, and that law enforcement officer, someone in his family was given like almost $1 million from the prosecution. That would be part of what the judge would learn and the jury would learn. And nobody would say, gosh, there's no conflict of interest there. President Trump won, and honestly, they say, well, you know what, Trump this, Trump that. He's a great president, but I mean, even if you don't like his policies, the fact he's going up against these corrupt, sinister, you're talking about like diabolical people. This has nothing to do with national security or protecting lives or geopolitics. This has nothing to do with that. They went from Russia to Ukraine, and which is hilarious because it's like they go from one country and then the country's adversary or a country, like the two countries don't get along really, and well, definitely don't. And it's like they don't even understand, they don't even get the irony of what they're doing. At first, Russia helped Trump. Now Ukraine helps Trump. It's like they don't. And not only that, there were a whole bunch of Democratic senators who, because the Ukraine was actually ending some probes into the Trump-Russian nonsense, that threatened Ukrainian officials, saying, we might not really give foreign aid to the Ukraine if they're not helping us with this investigation. Democrats are the worst hypocrites on the planet. They're guilty of every single thing they accuse others of doing. And this is true. Fred Flights here. This is a great statement that was retweeted by Paul Sperry. He goes, this is not an intelligence matter. It's a policy matter and a complaint about differences over policy. Presidential phone calls are not an intelligence concern. The fact that officers transcribe these calls does not give the IG jurisdiction over these calls. So it's really, this is a policy issue. And it wasn't like, oh, well, if you don't do this, we won't give you money. It was, why don't you look into it because he might have committed wrongdoing. That's what Democrats lose in all of this. There might have been wrongdoing by Biden. Very likely there was. Because if you listen to John Solomon and Rudy Giuliani, they're both like, well, Rudy Giuliani's like, look, you think I gave all the evidence we have? They know what's going on. But also, like I keep saying, people, ladies and gentlemen, they don't care. They do not care. Do not confuse the mayhem as like simply politics and, this is... There are about 30 to 40 million people that have to continually be frightened about Trump. And, there's probably, a good 20 million people in the Democratic Party that, hang on every word that's stated on CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times, Washington Post. And they have to. What are Democrats going to run on? Are there any policies that they're not into Medicare for all? That is a way to just funnel outrage from progressives and the most passionate, idealistic voters back into the Democratic Party. That's all. That's all. This is all about a political paradigm. This is all to pave the way for Clinton 2020. And this is a Brennan loyalist. So that's it. It's a loyalist of John Brennan's. The guy worked under John Brennan at Central Intelligence, and they don't have Brennan there anymore. They have somebody, perhaps, hopefully, more loyal to Trump. They don't have Comey anymore. They don't have what's his name, James Clapper, who literally told Chuck Todd there was no evidence of Trump-Russia collusion. Where Chuck Todd is like, well, if you did have the evidence, would you show it? He's like, yes, I would show it. What's wrong with you? What on earth is wrong with you? What on earth is wrong with you? Of course I would show it. So give me your thoughts below, ladies and gentlemen. This is really hilarious, and it's never ending. And it's like the type of thing where, this can only end badly for the Democrats. This is not like this latest nonsense about a transcript of a call to the Ukrainian leader. This is not, the average American doesn't care at all about this, doesn't really get it, and doesn't care. They don't view this as a national security risk. This is for people who are convinced that Trump worked with Russia, and they're few and far between. Well, actually, they're called liberals, and they've embraced the corrupt intelligence chiefs, but they also claim to be morally superior on most things. And they don't care that President Obama presided over the largest expansion of domestic oil and gas production, but, you better believe in climate change. They're good liberals. They're good liberals, don't you know? And I understand, I believe in the climate science, but the urgency is a little bit absurd when you talk about they don't even have the guts or the courage or the motivation to pass a Green New Deal legislation. They have no... Even we can go on forever. Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. And again, this is a Brennan loyalist. It's not. This is a loyalist of the old administration. They don't have the intelligence chiefs, but they have mid-level managers that can just, oh yeah, well we're speaking truth to power. I was like, no, you're not. You're basically a Democratic operative. And the very fact that the Washington Post is lionizing you and the New York Times is like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Look at how they treat real whistleblowers, okay? They try to silence and marginalize and ruin the lives of anyone who actually does speak truth to power. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you.